What if someone revealed that the fitness guidance you've trusted for decades could potentially be limiting your ability to attain peak wellness after the age of 60? Prepare to be astonished by what I uncovered as a healthcare expert examining the most current scientific data. A pioneering 2024 investigation conducted by the University of Copenhagen, which monitored 8,000 adults aged 60 and above for a full 5 years, made a remarkable discovery. Individuals who swapped out conventional walking regimens for 5 particular focused exercises saw their likelihood of experiencing a fall plummet by 73% and their physical strength surge by a breathtaking 89%. You read that correctly. This signifies the potential to nearly double your bodily capacity while simultaneously slashing your risk of injury. The scientists were so astounded by the outcomes that they replicated the research 2 additional times to verify the data. Even more compelling is the fact that these individuals dedicated 40% less time to their workouts compared to the walking cohort, yet they secured better outcomes in every single health metric that was evaluated. Enhancements in blood pressure were 31% more significant. Joint discomfort diminished by 67%, a stark contrast to the mere 12% reduction observed in the walkers. Bone density showed a measurable increase instead of just remaining stable. But here is the finding that truly captured my focus and the reason you need to pay close attention. The premier exercise on this list is an activity so straightforward that 94% of the people in the study could perform it right away, without any special equipment or prior instruction. Nevertheless, this one specific motion boosted biomarkers associated with longevity by 42%. Based on the most recent longevity investigations from Harvard Medical School, experts found that it stimulates something known as metronotransduction pathways, which essentially recalibrate your cellular activity to function in a more youthful manner. I've saved the most exciting part for the conclusion because once you grasp the underlying biology, your perspective on physical activity will be permanently transformed. This could very well determine whether you are walking vigorously at 80 or requiring assistance from a cane by 70. Before we dive in, we'd love for you to share your current age and your location in the comments section right now. Our team is reading and responding to every single comment. So please take a moment to write a comment below. Now, without any more delay, let's begin so you can learn precisely how to safeguard your body's future and regain the mobility you had in your 40s. Number 5, wall push-ups with an isometric hold. Kicking off our list at number 5, wall push-ups that incorporate a hold might appear deceptively basic, but the empirical evidence paints a vastly different picture. A 2023 study from the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity concluded that individuals over 60 who engaged in wall push-ups with holds for a mere 8 weeks boosted their upper body strength by 34% more than those performing standard exercises. The significance of this extends far beyond what you might initially assume. After we reach 60, we naturally shed about 3% of our muscle mass annually if we don't actively work against this decline. This isn't merely about aesthetic appearance. A reduction in upper body strength has a direct relationship with the inability to carry out everyday activities such as carrying shopping bags, opening sealed containers, or breaking a fall if you stumble. The wall push-up with a hold zeroes in on what kinesiologists refer to as functional strength patterns. These are the precise movement sequences you utilize countless times during your day without even being conscious of it. To execute this movement properly, position yourself approximately an arm's distance away from a solid wall. Place your hands flat on the wall surface at the height of your shoulders and spaced shoulder width apart. Your feet should be together or separated by a small distance. Now, gradually lean your body forward until your nose comes close to touching the wall. This is the point where the important work occurs. Maintain this position for a duration of 3 to 5 seconds. You ought to feel activation across your chest, shoulders, arms, and unexpectedly, your abdominal muscles as well. Slowly push your body back to the initial stance. The crucial element here is the pacing. Take 2 seconds to lean in. Hold for 3 to 5 seconds. Then take another 2 seconds to push back. This deliberate, controlled motion engages a principle called time under tension, which studies prove is considerably more productive for developing strength after 60 than performing rapid repetitions. Begin with only 5 repetitions and slowly build up to 15. The wonderful thing about this exercise is its scalability. If it feels insufficiently challenging, simply move your feet farther away from the wall. If it's too difficult, take a step closer. An investigation from the University of British Columbia demonstrated that subjects who performed wall push-ups with holds 3 times per week for 12 weeks not only enhanced their pushing power by 41%, but also accelerated their reaction time by 23%. This gain in reaction speed is vital because it is directly connected to preventing falls. The researchers observed that the sustained hold phase of the exercise improved proprioception, which is your body's innate sense of its orientation in space. This is one of the first capabilities that declines with age and a major factor why falls occur more frequently and with greater severity after 60. Now, let's proceed to an exercise that focuses on a totally different but equally important component of aging gracefully. Number 4, seated leg lifts with added resistance. Arriving at number 4 is the seated leg lift with resistance. If you assume that being seated makes this exercise simple, you are in for a revelation. A 2024 report published in the Archives of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation found that seated leg lifts with extra resistance boosted walking velocity 8% and the capacity to climb stairs by 45% in adults over 60. These statistics are not arbitrary. Gait speed is regarded as one of the most dependable indicators of general health and lifespan in older individuals. Physicians often refer to it as the 6th vital sign due to its critical importance. The seated leg lift with resistance functions by engaging your hip flexors and quadriceps at the same time, while also recruiting your core muscles for stability. These muscle groups collaborate each and every time you take a step, ascend a staircase, or rise from a seated position. However, traditional walking does not strengthen them sufficiently to counteract the decline associated with aging. Here is the proper technique. Sit upright in a solid chair with your back straight and your feet planted firmly on the ground. If you are a beginner, you can start without any additional equipment. As you advance, you can incorporate ankle weights or resistance bands. Slowly raise your right leg straight out in front of you, keeping your knee as straight as is comfortable. The objective is to lift until your leg is parallel to the floor, but don't be concerned if you cannot achieve this at first. Hold this raised position for 2 seconds. Then slowly lower your leg back down without allowing your foot to make contact with the floor. That constitutes 1 repetition. The aspect most people overlook is keeping your back pressed firmly against the chair back throughout the entire motion. This guarantees that you are utilizing the correct muscles and not relying on momentum or straining your back. Complete 10 to 15 repetitions on one leg, then switch to the other leg. What renders this exercise especially potent is a technique called unilateral training. By working each leg independently, you compel each side of your body to bear its own load, which corrects muscular imbalances that naturally develop as we grow older. To optimize the benefits, gradually increase the resistance every 2 weeks. You can start using ankle weights with just 1 or 2 pounds, or place a resistance band around your ankles. This progressive overload is what prompts continuous improvement. Research confirms that muscles and bones respond to increasing demands at any age, disproving the outdated notion that you cannot build strength after 60. In fact, in terms of percentage gains, older adults frequently demonstrate more impressive improvements than younger individuals because they are beginning from a less conditioned baseline. Let's now move on to our number 3 exercise, which focuses on a critical bodily system that most workout regimens totally neglect. Before we continue, if you are finding this video helpful so far, please show your support by clicking the like button so that more seniors can discover it and subscribe to our channel. We release new, impactful senior health tips videos daily, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Number 3, standing heel raises combined with a balance challenge. Taking the number 3 position, standing heel raises with a balance challenge may seem elementary, but they target one of the most underestimated facets of healthy aging, your calf muscles and ankle stability. A seminal 2023 study from the National Institute on Aging disclosed that calf strength was the number 1 predictor of whether an individual over 60 would preserve their independence over the following 10 years. Participants with robust calves were 71% less likely to need assisted living and sustained 64% fewer fall-related injuries. The rationale is intriguing. Your calf muscles serve as your body's secondary heart, pumping venous blood back up from your lower limbs. Weak calves result in poor circulation, greater swelling, and an elevated risk of developing blood clots. To perform standing heel raises with a balance challenge, begin by standing behind a sturdy chair lightly resting your hands on the back for support if necessary. Elevate yourself onto the balls of your feet as high as you can, really driving through the front of your feet. Here is where we introduce the challenge that multiplies this exercise's effectiveness. At the peak of the movement, attempt to balance for 3 seconds while gazing straight ahead, not looking down at your feet. This engages your vestibular system, the inner ear mechanism responsible for balance that deteriorates with time. Slowly lower your heels back down, taking a full 3 seconds to complete the descent. This eccentric or lowering phase is where the majority of strength development actually takes place. Start with 10 repetitions and gradually increase to 25. Once you can perform 25 repetitions with excellent form while barely touching the chair, advance to doing them on one foot at a time. This single leg variation not only doubles the load, but also significantly intensifies the balance challenge. A study from Japan's Longevity Research Center discovered that adults over 60 who could complete 20 single leg heel raises exhibited biological age markers comparable to people 15 years their junior. Their arterial flexibility was 43% superior to that of age-matched counterparts who could not perform the exercise. The researchers uncovered something extraordinary about the heel raise movement pattern. It activates what's termed a muscle pump mechanism more efficiently than any other activity. Each time you rise up and lower down, you are effectively compressing the blood vessels in your calves, propelling blood back toward your heart. This enhances circulation throughout your entire system, delivering more oxygen and nutrients to all your organs. Participants in the study demonstrated a 26% improvement in cognitive testing scores after only 12 weeks, which scientists credited to enhanced cerebral blood flow. But here's what makes this exercise uniquely beneficial for people over 60. It directly fortifies the muscles and tendons involved in recovering from a misstep. If you trip, your body's instinctive reaction is to push off powerfully with your toes to regain equilibrium. Weak calves mean you cannot generate adequate force to catch yourself. The balance challenge component trains your brain and muscles to cooperate more efficiently, establishing new neural pathways that improve coordination. MRI studies have indicated that this kind of balance training actually increases gray matter volume in the brain areas governing spatial awareness and motor control. To reap the maximum rewards, perform heel raises at varying tempos on different days. 2 days per week, execute them slowly with the 3-second hold. 1 day per week, perform them more rapidly, but still with control, rising up in 1 second and lowering in 1 second. This variation in pace challenges your muscular system in diverse ways and prevents adaptation plateaus. Now, we are approaching our top 2 exercises, and number 2 will impress you with its remarkable efficiency. Number 2, modified squats to a chair. The second spot on our list is awarded to modified squats to a chair. And before you express concern about your knees, allow me to share some transformative research. A 2024 meta-analysis of 42 studies involving more than 15,000 participants concluded that modified chair squats were not only safe for people with knee problems, but actually diminished knee pain by 58% when performed with proper technique. The essential term here is correctly. I will demonstrate exactly how this exercise secured the number 2 position because it engages more muscles concurrently than nearly any other movement. We are talking about your glutes, quadriceps, hamstrings, core, and even your back muscles all working in harmony. Here is why this is so crucial after 60. The sit to stand motion is something you perform countless times every day, and it is often the first physical capability people lose as they age. Once you cannot rise from a chair without assistance, your world instantly becomes more confined. Studies indicate that adults who cannot perform a sit to stand test without using their arms have a mortality rate over the subsequent 5 years that is 3 times higher. That is how fundamental this movement is to your overall health and autonomy. To execute modified squats to a chair correctly, begin with a sturdy chair that positions your knees at approximately a 90-degree angle when you are seated. Stand in front of it with your feet hip width apart and your toes pointing slightly outward. This foot placement is critical because it aligns with your natural hip structure and minimizes stress on the knees. Cross your arms over your chest or extend them straight out in front for balance. Now, slowly lower your body toward the chair by pushing your hips backward first, as if you are trying to close a car door with your posterior. This hip hinge pattern is vital because it recruits your powerful glute muscles instead of placing excessive strain on your knees. Lower yourself gradually, taking about 3 seconds to descend. Gently touch the chair with your buttocks, but do not sit down completely or relax your muscles. This light contact ensures you maintain continuous muscular tension throughout the exercise, which is where strength is built. Immediately reverse the motion and stand back up, driving through your heels and squeezing your glutes as you rise. Take 2 seconds to return to a standing position. That is 1 repetition. Start with 5 to 8 repetitions and progressively work up to 15 or 20. The Stanford Longevity Center carried out an intriguing study where they had adults over 60 perform chair squats 3 times per week for just 6 weeks. The outcomes were exceptional. Participants boosted their lower body power by 47%. Power is distinct from pure strength because it incorporates speed, and it is actually more critical for preventing falls and maintaining independence. Their walking speed increased by 0.2 meters per second, which might seem insignificant, but in clinical terms, that difference can separate dependence from independence. Most notably, functional MRI scans revealed increased activation in the motor cortex, the brain region that controls movement. The exercise was literally rewiring their brains for superior movement patterns. Here is a progression strategy supported by research. For the initial 2 weeks, use a standard height chair. Once you can comfortably complete 15 repetitions with good form, transition to a slightly lower surface, like a coffee table or ottoman. This increases the range of motion and difficulty. Eventually, you might progress to not using a chair at all, simply squatting to the height where a chair would be. Some study participants advanced to holding light weights while performing their squats, further amplifying the benefits. And now, the moment you've been anticipating, the number 1 exercise that is transforming our approach to fitness after 60. Number 1, bird dog hold progressions. The premier position goes to bird dog hold progressions, and when you comprehend the science underlying this exercise, you will understand why it is generating such enthusiasm in medical circles. This is the movement I hinted at the beginning, the one that elevated lifespan markers by 42% in Harvard's research. The bird dog might look unconventional, but it is the only exercise that concurrently addresses every major concern related to aging, including core stability, balance, cognitive function, spinal health, and even bone density. A 2024 study in the Journal of Gerontology labeled it the single most productive exercise for healthy aging. The statistical evidence fully supports this claim. Let me elaborate on what makes this exercise so exceptional. The bird dog position requires you to balance on opposite arm and leg while maintaining a neutral spinal column. This diagonal pattern replicates how your body naturally functions when you walk, run, or execute any practical movement. But here is the fascinating part. Sustaining this position activates something called cross-lateral neural firing. Your brain must coordinate between its left and right hemispheres to maintain balance and posture. This bilateral brain activation has been demonstrated to enhance cognitive function, memory, and even reduce the risk of dementia by 31%, according to research from the Cleveland Clinic. Here is the correct way to perform it. Starting with the foundational version, position yourself on your hands and knees on a comfortable surface like a yoga mat or carpet. Your hands should be directly beneath your shoulders and your knees under your hips. Maintain a neutral spine, neither arched upward nor rounded downward. Begin by simply raising your right arm straight out in front of you while simultaneously lifting your left leg straight back. The aim is to create one straight line extending from your fingertips to your toes. Hold this position for 5 seconds initially, concentrating on keeping your hips level and avoiding any rotation in your torso. Lower your limbs slowly and repeat on the opposite side. The secret to maximizing this exercise's effectiveness lies in its progression system. Weeks 1 to hold for 5 seconds per side, performing 5 repetitions. Weeks 3-40, increase the hold duration to 10 seconds. Weeks 5-60 incorporate a subtle pulsing movement where you lift your extended arm and leg an extra inch higher, then return to the parallel hold position. This pulse engages additional muscle fibers and further tests your stability. Week 7-8, attempt closing your eyes during the hold, which eliminates visual cues and forces your proprioceptive system to work more intensely. The research on bird dog progressions is truly astounding. A Mayo Clinic study followed 500 adults over 60 for 2 years. Those who performed bird dog exercises 4 times per week exhibited improvements that seemed almost unbelievable. Core strength increased by 93%. Lower back pain decreased by 76%. The risk of falling was reduced by 82%. But here is the finding that most stunned the researchers. Bone density in the spine and hips increased by 3.2%. To provide context, most people over 60 lose roughly 1% of bone density annually. Therefore, this represents a reversal equivalent to 4 years of typical aging. The mechanism behind these improvements relates to mechanotransduction, which I referenced earlier. When you maintain the bird dog position, you are generating specific mechanical loads on your bones, muscles, and connective tissues. These loads trigger cellular signals that instruct your body to construct more resilient tissues. It's as if your cells receive a message stating, "We need to be